pressure is the person that just lost their job, has $20 in the bank account, has two kids at home, and has to figure out a way to cover their mortgage, feed their family. That's pressure.
Every meaningful journey starts long before the spotlight.
You can build habits, and those habits will build confidence, and that confidence will build performance, and that performance will determine outcomes.
Sometimes it is the smallest habits that create the biggest margins.
The amount of nights where I don't sleep because I'm thinking about an athlete and how am I going to get them to change their mindset, to shift their approach so that they can reach the potential that I see for them.
Every meaningful journey starts long before the spotlight.
In our program, the culture is built on three things: pride in your intelligence, pride in your character, and pride in your toughness.
There are thousands of people out there who can relate to what you mentioned.
What I'm hopeful for is that society goes back and takes a different shift, because I think we're on our way to creating a world where accountability, work ethic, overcoming adversity, resilience, toughness is becoming further and further from the reality.
From the outside, coaching looks like game plans and timeouts, but the real world is deeper.
If you understand the concept of actually looking yourself in the mirror, because that's the only motivator that you need. And now you have to decide, who do I want to be? And am I happy with what I see in the mirror? And can I be better?
Depends how you see and how you feel that.
Yeah, I'm rich in abundance. Like we talk about, I have a partner that I love, that supports my goals, my dreams. I get to go home with two kids that are 4 years old and 2 years old and that know nothing about the world, and I'm shaping them for the world. But when I walk through the door, I'm their hero.
We always talk about great players, but teams win championships.
One thing that I've learned over the years is that that person is just guiding you, but the person that's pushing you is really you.
When life evolves, our idea of wealth evolves with it. What does wealth mean to you as a father and head coach?
I recognize that I'm one of the laziest people on earth, but I've never give myself the out because I know that and I accept that, therefore I'm not lazy.
Your character today is shaped mainly by what you've been through throughout your life.
Every day I wake up and I get to compete, I get to prepare, I get to help inspire people to play this game. I get a chance to develop athletes. I get a chance to develop myself.
Freedom means different things depending on where we are in life. How do you define freedom today for yourself, for your family?
I don't look and judge my players based on what they do in games. I look and judge my players with what they do every day at practice, how they go about their business every single day, how they show up, how they work with diligence, how they show up on their worst days, how they bounce back from failure.
We all carry one principle we fall back on when life gets heavy.
The measure of my success are the athletes that lead this program, the athletes that I have an impact on. That's going to be my legacy. Like when I go, I want the church to be filled with people that I impacted.
Welcome back. Today on Beyond the Summit, we sit with a coach who has lived every layer of the game. As a champion player, a championship coach, a mentor, and a builder of people. Coach Willy Manigat's rise from Montreal and Ottawa to Carleton's dynasty and now Brock's national stage is rooted in discipline, values, and heart. He leads with energy, thinks with purpose, parents with intention, and shows up for his players in ways that go far beyond basketball. Today, we explore the moments that shaped him, the growth, the identity, and the meaning behind his journey. Coach Willy, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think that's one of the better introductions that I've ever had in my life, so I appreciate it.
Fantastic. I'm glad you're here. Your rise looks polished from the outside, but every meaningful journey starts long before the spotlight. What moments from the childhood in Montreal or Ottawa shaped a competitor in you?
I would honestly probably say just my childhood. I mean, I think that I had a very competitive father who was himself a former athlete. He was a national level soccer player from Haiti, and I have 3 siblings, and I think once you have a competitive father who instills some of that discipline, the drive, and never give up attitude, and now there's 4 of you in the household that are fighting for the same toy, the same food, I think it's natural that you start to become super competitive, and that is really what shaped me. Till this day, my siblings and I are still very competitive in everything that we do, whether it's playing dominoes, whether it's playing cards, whether it's sprinting. Like last summer, I can remember going back home to Ottawa and my brother, who's 42 years old, and I'm now 38, and we're at the park just from a conversation. All of a sudden, we're having this sprinting matchup as guys that are no longer in their prime and out of shape. So I think all of that stuff just shaped who I am. And there's so many different things that I could say, but if, at the source of it, it comes from my father and it comes from having siblings that are just as competitive as me.
Clearly, your father inspired you. And in those early years, there is always someone who steps in at the right time. Who believed in you before you believed in yourself? Was your dad the same person or someone else?
Even honestly, I wouldn't say my dad was the person that inspired me. I think my dad was the person that shaped us. I think those are two different things in terms of inspiration. But in those early years, the first person actually that recently, a couple weeks ago, I had to go back home and put to rest, and she unfortunately passed away. I think honestly, when I thought about it, it's really my aunt. She was someone that was really super motivated in inspiring youth. And I can remember when I was younger, her always looking at me and letting me know that you have something special in you. And when she saw me play sports, she always encouraged me to continue because she could see kind of like a glow and like a spark in just my competitive nature, but just my love for competition. So she was always the first person that was just like this is your avenue, keep going, keep going, keep going. I didn't really know what it meant at the time. I didn't know what sport, but she always just encouraged me to stay active because she saw the energy and the excitement that I got from just playing with kids at church and playing with my peers, playing with my best friend, just going at the park, shooting hoops. She always saw it, and I'm thankful for that.
Thank you for sharing that.
It's a big loss, and honestly, I've never seen a church so full of people just to celebrate her life and people coming from far and near and just wanting to. It just inspired me. You talk about inspiration. Going to her funeral inspired me that I hope that the legacy that I leave behind is one like hers, because she was somebody that was loved and impacted a lot of people, and you could see it at her funeral.
I love that. May her soul rest in peace. So every athlete has the turning point, the moment the game becomes more than just a game. When did you realize basketball wasn't just something you did, it was your path?
Probably when I was willing to move away from home and to leave my house because my parents didn't want me to go to basketball because they wanted me to go to church. I think once you're willing to, like, as a child, pick up everything you know and say, I'm leaving this house if I can't get and do what I love, I think that's when I realized. But that was probably not till high school in grade 10. I just knew that I always loved competing and I played a lot of different sports, but I really fell in love with just where not even I had no idea where basketball was going to take me, but I just knew that I loved it and that I always wanted to be at it. I always wanted to train. I always wanted to be at the park. I always wanted to work on my game. And as coming from a background that's a pretty religious background, my mom wouldn't let us go play. And I'm a Seventh Day Adventist, and that means that on Friday night when the sun goes down till Saturday, the sun comes back down. So that those 24 hours, just like we observe what is considered the Sabbath. And during those times, we weren't allowed to go do anything and play. It was just about church and meditation and praying. And eventually, once I realized I was willing to fight my mom that I loved and I knew how much church meant to her, I knew that this was something that I was like destined or at least super passionate, like going down that path and wanting to commit to it.
I see. And when we connect the dots backward, we often surprise ourselves. If young Willie could see it today, what would surprise him the most?
That we're still at it. I would have never imagined that I would still be in this realm, living my passion every day. Every day I wake up and I get to compete. I get to prepare. I get to help inspire people to play this game. I get a chance to develop athlete. I get a chance to develop myself. And it's still in the realm of what I've always wanted to do or I've always done, which is the game of basketball, which is honestly, I tell my guys all the time in our change room, they're just like, I'm having the time of my life. And I wish that you guys would join me because this is an extremely fun time and you get to do what you love every single day. And I'm still doing what I love every day.
I love it. So, Willie, you have lived inside one of the greatest cultures in Canadian sports. What separates a team that wins once from a team that wins every year?
Just the standard. I think that's the biggest thing that I learned during my time where I came from is that I was pretty fortunate. I started at one institution and then I transitioned and transferred to another school. So I started at the University of Ottawa and played 2 years there, and then I took some time off. And I always love to say that I'm a proud university dropout. And I think that's one of the things that has shaped my life is failure and being able to bounce back from failure and build off of that. So as being somebody that was academically not eligible, transferring to another institution, getting a second chance to get an opportunity to continue to live your dream and to do what you love after losing it and sabotaging it in a sense. It took me about 2 or 3 days, even though it came from a very talented, very respected basketball program at Ottawa U, to be able to go to Carleton and to realize that we never really had a chance. And that only took me 3 days because it was the level of accountability from top to bottom. I always talk about when you're in part of like a winning culture and a part of a group of people that want to strive for greatness. It's not the person that's at the top that's demanding, is the person that is, for lack of a better word, at the bottom. Like in sports, you have people that redshirt that don't even dress and get to play in games. But in that culture, those people were just as demanding of their teammates as the coach was. And the standard and the execution that was required, the day-to-day commitment and showing up even on your worst days was what the separator was. So when that's the approach, I think that winning is almost just and like something that is almost guaranteed.
Yeah, and it tells a lot about your character. And sometimes it is the smallest habits that create the biggest margins. What practice habit at Carlton changed the way you see preparation?
Just the day to day of it. I think we can all identify that a lot of people in society feel like at any given time when they have the potential to do something and to be somebody or to be someone or have success that they can turn it on and off. And I think the biggest thing I learned during my time at Carleton is that your habits are shaped on a day-to-day basis. And one of the things that I remember that was said to me is just like it's not who you are at your best, it's who you are at your worst. Because who you are at your worst is really who you are. Because we can't always be at our best. We're not perfect humans. But if on my worst day, a teammate, I can depend on the level of standard that I provide in what I do, well, that guarantees success. So if I can raise the floor of my worst day and my performance on my worst day or when I don't want to do it, well, then that means that on the good days when I am having everything go my way, then this is the type of level that I can get to. So it's a different way to approach it and to look at it, but it is something that has resonated to me is on the days that I don't want to do it, on the days that I'm not in the mood, those are usually the days that I actually am excited about. That's the stuff that excites me is on the days when I know I'm not in the mood to do something, what type of level and what type of execution will I have? And what kind of effort will I put, or will I just wait for that day to end and try to start new? But then in society, you see people snowball because it's just like it wasn't their day. Well, the next day is not their day either. And then now they're stacking on a bunch of bad days and now they can't get themselves out of it. So that's a big part of it.
That's kind of discipline that keep you moving forward, even when it's not easy. You were surrounded by strong personalities and strong leaders. Who pushed you the hardest during those years, and how did that shape the way you lead today?
I think one of the things that attracted me to the Carlton culture was the fact that it reminded me very much of that my dad shaped me. And that culture had a leader that shaped you. He forced you to show up, he challenged you, and he talked all the time about the concept of always putting a mirror in your face. Like, this is who you are, accept it and change it. And that was the mentality in that, in terms of pushing me. But at the end of the day, one thing that I've learned over the years is that that person is just guiding you, but the person that's pushing you is really you if you understand the concept of actually looking yourself in the mirror, because that's the only motivator that you need. And now you have to decide, who do I want to be? And am I happy with what I see in the mirror? And can I be better? So every time when you raise that level and you push yourself to more, you also have to go back to the mirror and ask yourself, is that the most that I can become? So you're constantly raising and raising your expectation and your level of accountability, your level of demand for yourself while having somebody that's also calling you out for it. So I would say it's a combination of the people that you surround yourself with, but really it all comes from internally. Like when you look at the most successful people, yeah, they've had people that have shaped them and have like inspired them, but where they end up going always comes from within. And if they actually have the desire to get to where they want to get to.
Absolutely. So at the end of the day, it's you who actually moves forward and pushes the hardest way possible.
Okay.
You mentioned standards. Standards are invisible, but you feel them. What does a standard mean to you, especially when no one is watching?
Yeah, I think that's the only thing I care about. I don't think I pay attention to when people are watching. Like the only person, like again, when you go back to the concept of you and the mirror, in the mirror at night when you're brushing your teeth, there is no one else around. So that's the only person that's ever watching. For me, I don't, I've always been like that. I'm constantly being watched, and the person that's always watching is myself. And we all have moments. And it's funny, yesterday I was having that conversation with one of my athletes, and I said to him, it's like, I recognize that I'm one of the laziest people on earth, but I've never give myself the out because I know that and I accept that. Therefore, I'm not lazy because I can call myself out for any moment where I feel like I'm being lazy and being, you're being lazy right now, fix it. Because I've established that there's no one else in the world that would want to just sit back and do nothing. But I recognize that I don't want to be that. So then I'm constantly pushing that standard. In my line of work, we play every Friday and Saturday, and the whole week is spent preparing, whether I'm watching film, meeting with athletes, practicing, training sessions with them, getting my own mental space, and going to the gym, going to the sauna. When Sunday comes or Saturday night comes and we've finished our game and now I'm at home, I'm already preparing myself for Sunday morning, telling myself I don't want to be a lazy parent that at 7:30 when my kid knocks through that door and he wants to come and play, that I have to be ready up to make breakfast, to go out with him, to go and run errands with him. And that's because I recognize that I want to set a certain standard. So even before I go to bed, I'm already gearing myself up for Sunday morning to be the parent I want to be and the standard of parenting I want to provide, because I know that on Sunday morning, all I want to do after a long day and a long week is probably just sleep. So again, when you're thinking and you're approaching it like that, and you're constantly looking at yourself in the mirror for the next thing that you have to do, and you're setting a standard before you even have to accomplish the task, I think that's the part for me that excites me.
That's beautiful. So not every great player becomes a great coach. That leap is rare. What made you say coaching is where I can make the biggest impact?
Well, I go back to my own story, right? As someone that's a proud university dropout or proud university failure. Now my job consists of making sure my players leave my program with real confidence and a degree. And as someone that got a second opportunity, I think watching how you can be impactful and shape someone's life is what got me into coaching and wanting to do that for others, and recognizing how lucky I was to have somebody continue to shape me and help foster that growth. So that's what really got me into coaching. And I think even when I go back even further, one of my club coaches, which was the reason why I went to Ottawa U in the first place, he was the lead assistant at the time, and now he's actually the head coach and has been now for over, I think, 15 years or so. But they were preparing to go into competition at the national championship, and he used to be my ride to practice, but I would go to his office and study. And I remember vividly just not studying and watching film and providing some insight in terms of what I thought they should do. And you look back and you're like, I think you have a future in this. And here I am 20 some years later, and this is exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, I think some of those experiences have shaped my desire to help. And I think as a coach and anybody that gets into coaching, you do it because you want to be a service to others. And I really enjoy what I do.
I really believe there are thousands of people out there who can relate to what you mentioned. You have coached in different environments, prep, university, pro. What did each stop teach you about people, not just players?
I will say this, mindset is the only thing that matters, in my opinion. Like, as a basketball coach, before I can teach my athletes how to play basketball at a high level, I have to train their mindset and I have to change their mindset. What I say to our athletes all the time, you are here, a lot of you, because of your potential and the combination of where I think your mindset could go. By the time you leave here, no one will judge you off your potential. They'll judge you off your ability if you become a professional in this world.
I
But you're
see.
not going to get to be a professional if your mindset doesn't take you to that, because you start to train with the word that we've been using around our program is you're training with diligence so that you can build habits, and those habits will build confidence, and that confidence will build to performance, and that performance will determine outcome.
From the outside, coaching looks like game plans and timeouts, but the real world is deeper. What's the hardest part of coaching that players never see?
I think it's the late hours. It's the constant thinking. The amount of nights where I don't sleep because I'm thinking about an athlete and how am I going to get them to change their mindset. to shift their approach so that they can reach the potential that I see for them. I think that's the hardest thing that coaches deal with is oftentimes we get caught in wanting something for somebody more than they want it for themselves. And that's a line that is hard to navigate because if I want something more for you, Amir, than you want for yourself, well, I'm going to come off as somebody that you eventually maybe despise or resent. But my goal is to find a way to push that line and to shift that mindset so you can get the benefit of what you want and what you can be and hope you realize it and want to tackle it with enthusiasm every day. That's the hardest part about coaching. Like I say, the coaching, and people ask me all the time, are you excited for the games? My job isn't in the game. My job is before we get to the game to get you to a certain level and to a certain mindset where the performance and the outcome is already determined because we have done the work before and we have worked with diligence to build habits that build confidence that lead to outcome and performance.
I love that. Willie, if you had to describe your coaching identity in a few words, what three words capture how you lead and why those three?
I would say with passion, hard, and with love. I think those are the three things that if you look at my coaching from the outside, people don't understand that. I always look at coaching as raising a child. It's that moment in terms of the public is judging an interaction with a parent that cares about his kid in the grocery store and that's hard on his child. But I have to go home with my child. You get to walk away, but I have to live with this child. I have to live with the results of how I raised this child. So in order to do that, you have to start with love. You have to bring people into your world that you can see yourself loving and spending every single day and wanting to help shape them. If you bring people into your environment as a coach that you dislike, you'll never have those sleepless nights where you're trying to figure out how to change their mindset because you don't have enough love in your heart to even have them have success and you don't desire that success for them. Then you have to do it with relentless passion and enthusiasm because it takes a lot of work and you have to be passionate so that they can be passionate about their own development. And then you have to be hard. Like I think we've gone to a place in society where if something is hard, everybody gets accommodation and we don't understand how that has shifted us into a society where those accommodations have led to entitlement and wanting things to be easy. And if it's not easy, we look for the way out. But when you look for the way out in something hard, you're only going to find harder. That's the biggest piece. It's having them understand that success is on the other side of overcoming adversity. And if you can overcome adversity, then you will have success. It's like I always use the analogy of there are different types of people in the world. You wake up on a Monday morning, you're on your way to work, and you wake up to a flat tire. There are people who their week is ruined. There are people who their days are ruined. And there are people that look at that and look at that as a challenge and get excited and say, I'm still going to crush this day and make this day my best Monday. And we're going to have an amazing week despite this challenge. You want your athletes and you want the people that have success to look at adversity as not a deterrent, but a motivator to overcome. And if that's the approach and the mindset that we talk about that you have in tackling anything that comes your way, how do you not guarantee success?
Beautiful. Most coaches carry one early story with them, a lesson that never leaves. What early coaching moments shape your philosophy forever?
I think the earliest lesson I learned is that I had to become a coach. I had to be myself. It's funny. I asked one of our up and coming coaches and I ask them, what's the lesson you've learned so far? Because I think that's an important question in coaching and in life to remember so that you're guiding your principles and your philosophies in terms of how you carry what your mission. And for me, it was always remembering that just because I was around a great coach doesn't mean I have to coach like that said great coach. That great coach coached to their personality and I have to coach to mine. I'm somebody loves to have fun, loves to have banter, loves to make fun of my athletes and my coaches. I want them to make fun of me and to enjoy being around me. I want to share in their experiences, things that are happening outside of their life. That doesn't mean that because I coach you hard and I'm passionate, that we are just always in that realm. And that's something that I learned early. So I try to be that with my athletes where they know that this door in my office is always open for them to come, even if it's just to joke and laugh, but also understanding it's like I say to them 22-2. There's 22 hours in a day where you go about your business, but the 2 hours that we're together, you work with intensity, you work with diligence, and you work at the level and at the standard that we expect for those 2 hours. And the other 22 hours, we can be normal. for lack of a better word.
Yeah, those interactions at human level, makes the difference. Taking over a program is both an opportunity and a responsibility. What was the first thing you wanted to build at Brock before winning, before the system?
Just mindset and culture. I think I think we live in a world where you hear the word culture all the time. It's like you grow and all these buzzwords happen. And I think the best way for me to describe culture is I go back to my own experience of someone that went from one institution to the next, and in 3 days being able to identify the separator and why we always lost when it mattered against the other team. I think it's like the best way that I can compare it to, and one of my former assistant coach, who's now a head coach of himself at another institution at Laurentian, he always said, we are close to the American border. While in Canada, the second you cross the border, there'll still be a McDonald's, there'll still be a Shell gas station. They even have Tim Hortons out there. But the second you cross the border, there's a different feeling in the air. Whether you understand it or not, you feel different. Your brain goes into a different space. You look at everything differently than if you were at home under your own Canadian soil. Well, that's the same thing in building a culture when you take over a program. The first thing I want to establish is that when people walked in this from that were here the year before, they established that this was completely different and how things and what the expectations were. And our program, the culture is built on three things: pride in your intelligence, pride in your character, and pride in your toughness. And those are things that we define constantly, that we challenge and push constantly, so that when you walk into our culture as a first year athlete, you already start to know what the expectation, the level of the standard is on a day-to-day basis in all things. Like my players know how they have to carry themselves outside of the court, how they have to carry themselves at practice, in the change room, in their lifts. The expectations from an academic standpoint, you establish a standard that is one that is, whether you understand it or not, you can feel it and know what the expectations are.
Sometimes you can feel the identity of a team before you see it. What does a great team feel like to you?
A great team feels to me, people may not like the answer. I think a great team feels like a bunch of people that are madmen.
In
They're
what sense?
so they're so different than everybody else, and they're so passionate that it's almost you can taste it. And everybody is enthused, everybody is passionate, everybody is a part of it. You can feel it in the way that they carry themselves, you can feel the way that they talk to each other. That's a different level of accountability and trust, and that there's a relationship and an understanding of what we're doing. There is an aura. A great team has an aura that it carries, and sometimes it's not always the pretty aura when you talk about a competitive sport and a physical sport and a contact sport, but you feel like there's an aura and a confidence that's built on discipline and accountability.
I love that. Okay. There is no right or wrong answer. It depends how you see and how you feel that. So confidence isn't given, it's grown. How do you help players believe when they don't fully believe in themselves yet?
Yeah, I think it's also sometimes putting things in perspective and providing them with coping mechanisms to build confidence. Again, we're at this halfway point of our season where right now all I'm doing is meeting with each athlete one on one and just having conversations with them and having them relive and go through the first half of the season and what they think went on. And some of them have lost their confidence, but it's reshaping them that confidence can easily be retrieved and kept moving forward by just putting things in perspective. I think, again, pride in your intelligence. If you're in this program, you're someone that I consider, you don't have to be the smartest. I tell people all the time, I don't think I'm anything special when it comes to intelligence, but I know that I have a great pride in wanting to learn and wanting to be intelligent. So when I engage in a conversation, when I hear a new word, I want to find that definition so I can gather that. So over the course of time, if you're in every room wanting to learn, you'll become more intelligent. So now if you show up to practice every day with the mindset that I'm excited to learn and to grow my intelligence in this realm, then I will eventually become more and more intelligent and my IQ will raise. If I have pride in my character, that means when things don't go my way or mom and dad or coach aren't around, will I behave and do what is expected of me and be proud of that? Or will I act completely differently? So, in the space of building your confidence, if I have failure, but I am someone of character, I will go and tackle those failures with a level of confidence to help me grow and to become more intelligent. And then, lastly, just again, the toughness piece. Like, If I have the ability to overcome, like we say, the Monday flat tire on my way to work and to still have a productive day, a productive week, and actually be at my best, well, that's going to give me the confidence with the intelligence and the character to build confidence. Like I said, my program, my goal, my ultimate goal outside of basketball is when these athletes leave here is to have real confidence. When you deal with high performing athletes, they're all at this level because they have some level of confidence or bravado. But bravado is not a positive thing. And we talk to them about that, the difference between confidence, where I know I belong in every room and I know that I will have and find a way to be successful no matter what, as opposed to pretending and having this air of false confidence just to impress others around me. And hopefully, when they leave this program, even when they come to mind, I'm not panicking or worried about, oh my God, what's going on with so and so? I hope he's okay. But when they come to mind, I just have to go, can't wait to catch up with them and see how things are going on. So those are completely different things, bravado and confidence. And we want people to build confidence. And for us in our program, it's just about your working on your pride, your intelligence, your toughness, and your character. And if you have those three things every day and you approach with a certain mindset, I don't see how you don't gain confidence and become somebody that actually can tackle tasks.
I love it. So we talked about confidence. Now let's talk about growth. I believe growth isn't just about talent. What's one mistake you see young athletes make that slows their development?
I think it's again goes back to the people that you surround yourself with. I think we live in a world where, especially in social media, you have young, talented athletes that get caught up in all of the hype and the conversation around how good they are at a certain age. But that's because they're not surrounded by people that shut out the noise. Like, I think the best players shut out the noise so that they can focus on just the task at hand, which is to continually grow and improve. Again, I go back to what I said earlier is confidence comes from diligent work that builds habit, that breeds confidence, and that confidence turns into performance and outcome is the same thing at the younger levels. Again, as someone that's worked with the national team, you see these guys that make the national team when they're 15, 16 years old. By the time it's 17 and 18 and 19 years old, they've gotten all of this early confidence in their head, so they've stopped working with diligence. But the people that didn't make that team continue to work with diligence because now they have kept a chip on their shoulder and now they have something to attain to. So they're motivated to continue to get better because they're not getting the noise of this, like, oh my God, congratulations, you're a national team player, you're a provincial team player. So for them, they work in the darkness. And then eventually that work that's done in the dark comes to light. Where now, if I'm in the light, I'm constantly in the light and I'm not focusing on the things that I need to do to continue to get better. I think that's one of the biggest things that people struggle with, especially in sport, is that they get caught up in everything except the actual work.
Yeah, I believe shutting down distraction, can be really helpful. Yeah, I love it. So every coach has that moment, the one where your group is different. Was there a moment at Brock where you felt that shift?
I mean, for us, it's different because every year it's a restart, even though you have the same individuals, like how it works in sport, especially at the university level where you're retaining athletes or actually hoping to retain athletes, is that every year, even though we finish in March, by the time we get started again in September, well, now there's 4.5 months where the person that might have been the 10th person on the team makes a big jump. So I think every year you have these moments where you can identify if your team is heading in one direction when you're successful, and also identify where this isn't the year and this is going to crash and burn. And I've had to every year live through those moments. So I can tell you that when that feeling happens, you know it and you can feel it and you can walk away from a moment and say, we're going in this direction or we're going in that direction. And that's the fun part every year, is that it's a new journey every year.
Right. So, Willie, you mentioned looking at yourself in the mirror. That's really helpful. And I believe basketball is a mirror. It reveals
Mhm.
character, whether we want it or not. What has the game taught you about human nature?
That we're all complacent and that it's something that we're fighting every single day. It's going back to what I said. I know that I have lazy tendencies. So if I'm wanting to be successful and I'm wanting to operate at a certain level, I know that I have to fight though that complacency and fight that need or that desire to like have things go my way. I think we all want it to be easy, but we all understand that it's not easy. And all humans tend to hope for the best, where I hope for the best, but I'm always preparing for the worst.
I know you are a big fan of accountability, and accountability looks different when lights are on. How do you build real accountability in your program?
Every day, every day. I don't look up and judge my players based on what they do in games. I look and judge my players with what they do every day at practice, how they go about their business every single day, how they show up, how they work with diligence, how they show up on their worst days, how they bounce back from failure. I think it's easy to show up here when the games come on and all of our family, friends, and supporter fans of the other team show up in a gym and now everybody is watching you. But that is not what led to the success. It's not what determines the outcome. It's all the stuff that's done when no one is watching. And I think that's the biggest thing that I try to instill in my athletes is you're not going to be able to turn it on. What you are on Monday is what you'll be on Saturday at the game. If you think it's going to be different, it's not going to. And most of them understand that and work towards that.
Willy, you have scouted talent at the pro level, and talent isn't just stats. When you evaluate a player, what truly matters to you?
Just their mindset, their character, and their work ethic. Like at all levels, and I think that's the biggest part. It doesn't matter if you're evaluating a 7-year-old or a grade 7 athlete or a national team tryout or you're looking at pros. It's all the same metrics. You're looking at human beings and their way of life. How do you operate? What are your motivators? Are your motivators the outside noise? Because eventually that's not going to be enough to keep you motivated. Does your motivation come from within? Do you have a why? Diligent are you? How disciplined are you? Passionate are you? Prideful in your intelligence are you? How prideful in your character are you? How prideful are you in your ability to overcome and to get through adversity? That's all you're evaluating at all levels. So whether for me, whether you're a pro, you're a university student, you're a high school student, you're the kid at my son's grade 4 basketball, if I'm evaluating you, even at a young age when in that setting, and I was laughing last week and watching my son play and watching the other children play, just like you can already tell at that age who are the ones that have it in them to be passionate about sports. It's not that they're good at that age, but you see the desire, you see the signs. It's not about, and it's the same way you see the signs from a professional athlete, but sometimes your talent is so great that you're given more and more opportunities, even though you don't deserve them, just because someone hopes that they're able to get a breakthrough in your mindset so that you can maximize that potential. But eventually that only takes you so far. And for some people, it takes them far enough where they're millionaires. And God bless those people. But they're never people that leave a legacy behind.
So powerful. Simple but powerful. So we always talk about great players, but teams win championships. What separates a great player from a great teammate?
I think again, it's somebody that has the humility. In order to be a great player, you can be selfish. You can have the habits, you can do it, and you can do it for yourself, especially depending on a sport where you may not need the help of others as much. But even at that, you can still have enough desire to be great and not ever be a part of something greater. In order to be something greater, you have to be willing to sacrifice. You have to have the humility to lower yourself and to make yourself a part of a group and to understand that you're a piece of the puzzle, even though sometimes you might be a big piece of the puzzle, but the puzzle isn't complete without the others. And that's the difference between players that are great and that never win because they're only focused on their stat and their glory. But again, those players also never really, again, leave a legacy.
No, I get it in team sports, absolutely. But how do you define that for individual athletes that they are competing individually? What greater things they're striving for?
I always find it fascinating people that are in individual sports, how they go about doing what they do. But what I've also figured out, and I'm taking a coaching course right now, and I talk to a lot of coaches that are coaching gymnastics or MMA or individual sports. And they talk about even in those sports, all of their success is predicated on being a part of a team. It's just when the lights are on, they're the ones on the stage. So an MMA fighter would be a part of a group and would be a part of a puzzle in a gym and in an environment where he has somebody that's pushing him to greatness, teammates that he's competing and grappling with or sparring with. But then when the fight happens, he's the one that's in the ring by himself. So even in those individual sports, there's still a collective that gets you to a goal, which again goes back to the point that real success is achieved in a group and rarely alone. And even
Right.
if you're the face of the success, there's always people behind you that help you get to what you're trying to achieve. So I think it's very similar. I think the differences aren't as great as we think they are.
No, absolutely. I cannot agree more with what you said. So we talked about distraction and the noise out there. Let's talk more thoroughly about it. Players today grow up in a world full of pressure, public pressure, online pressure. How do you guide your young man through expectations, identity, and social media noise?
I put it all in perspective. I think those are just a bunch of words that people use, and people want something to be something that it's not. And I try to keep things as simple as possible. And I think if you understand real pressure, it's like it's the same way you hear people use the word stress all the time in this society. So it leads to a ton of depression where people aren't really stressed. They're just using the power of those words and not understanding the effects that will have. What is pressure? Me showing up to practice every single day, there's no pressure in that. Me coaching my team, there's no pressure in that. My athletes showing up to play a game that they love and they've been playing all their life, there's no pressure in that if they show up every single day and are as committed and disciplined in it as they need to be. Pressure is the person that just lost their job, has $20 in the bank account, has two kids at home, and has to figure out a way to cover their mortgage, feed their family. That's pressure. And I think it's all in putting things in perspective. It's like when people say they're stressed. No, you have work and you have a lot of work. You might be a little overwhelmed by your work, but that is not stress. Stress is when you don't know where your next dollar is going to come from and how you're going to feed a whole family and keep a roof over your head. And I think one of the best things that's ever happened in my life is actually coming from a place where life was difficult, where I had to watch my mom after my dad had a stroke get from being a stay at home mom to go and get a degree while getting part time jobs to feed us, to take my dad to dialysis, to then become a nurse, to take care of us her whole life. That is pressure. So when you come from an environment where there is pressure and you're watching someone sometimes not eat to make sure you eat, that puts things in perspective. And I think I have a great scope to like explain that to people and my athlete that just be prepared. That's not pressure. Pressure comes when you know you're not prepared. So all of a sudden you feel this anxiety because I haven't prepared.
I really like your point of view, and thank you for sharing those hard moments, hard personal moments in your life. And I believe, so your character today is shaped mainly by what you've been through throughout your life, and that speaks for itself. You carry a heavy schedule, and leadership requires energy. What do you do to keep your energy strong as a coach, father, and a leader?
I just think I'm passionate about what I do and just I don't really have to think about that. I think I do spend time and energy to make sure I'm at my best in a mental space where I've taken care of myself so I can take care of others. I think that's one thing that I really do value. I make sure that I go to the gym every single day. That's how you and I have met through many conversations at the gym or in the sauna just talking about life. Like for me, those are separators. But in terms of providing the energy, I think when you love what you do and you're passionate and you hold yourself to a high standard, it's not a hard thing. If anything, I actually try to find ways to deplete my energy so I'm not overbearing because I'm so passionate about the things I want to do. I'm passionate about basketball. I'm passionate about my coaching. I'm passionate about changing the lives of the athletes that are in my program. And I'm passionate about my family and wanting to be the best parent and the best partner I can be. Yeah.
Simple and powerful. I love it.
And I also understand that that's a privilege, and I can't pretend that it's not. Like I get to do every day the thing that I've been doing since I was 7 years old, and that makes it a privilege. And I don't take it for granted because I understand there's a lot of people out there that are going to work in an environment that they don't really want to be doing, but they have to find a way to make ends meet and to earn a living and make a living. I don't want to also, while being lucky, pretend that I don't know that I'm lucky and that it may be harder for people to do what they're doing with passion and to find the energy to do it and having to find ways to sustain or to create that energy just to get through the day. So
I love that. And let's talk about some practical and applicable routines that you have. I believe sharp coaching needs a sharp mind. What routines help you stay grounded mentally and physically? You mentioned, exercising, every day. So that can be part of physical routines that you have. You may want to talk more about it, and please talk about, mental aspects of that as
It's a tough question. I think part of my routine is the physical. The physical also helps my mental because I come from being an athlete and being able to stay sharp by pushing myself physically. So I think that's something that I enjoy. Like even on the days where I don't want to go to the gym, which there are many days because my whole life I've trained for the purpose of being an athlete. So in retirement, it becomes really hard to stay motivated. But I hope that I try to keep the discipline of whether I want to or not to still go. I think that helps keep me sharp because I'm pushing myself to do something even in while I'm uncomfortable or not wanting to. And again, while you're at the gym, for me, it's a space where I have a few hours where I can just reflect about how I want to tackle what I'm going to tackle for the rest of the day or that week or where we're at as a basketball team or as a family.
I really want to elaborate a little bit more on this part. Some people watching or listening might ask, okay, I really want to do that, but I don't know how. I don't feel like, then I'm not feeling motivated enough. So going to gym as an example. Today, I don't feel like, I want to go to the gym. I know today is the most important day for me. I have to go today. How do you do that yourself? How do you push yourself?
I think sometimes there's the figurative mirror that you're putting in your face, and sometimes you just have to look at yourself. And we're lucky now with our phones, we have cameras. Opening up the camera and looking at yourself and having that interaction with yourself. I think that's a powerful tool that people oftentimes don't because they don't want. The issue isn't so much that we don't know that it's an important thing. It's more we don't want to judge ourselves harshly. And I think the sooner you're able to have that judgment of yourself and to also give yourself the grace while judging yourself, I think that's the piece that gets people to go and do the things that they don't want to do. I like I say to my athletes is you put the mirror in front of you, and before you put the mirror in front of you, you take your ego and your pride to the side and you judge yourself holistically and as what you see and what you present. And then you have that conversation with yourself. No, you need to go to the gym. You know you need to go to the gym. Then you go and you pick up your pride and your ego, and then you go and tackle the task. Because there's a little bit of pride and ego that helps us become the best version of ourselves, but we have to know when to have it and when to put it to the side.
I love that. On this show, we talk about, health. We kind of talked about it, wealth and freedom. When life evolves, our idea of wealth evolves with it. What does wealth mean to you as a father and head coach?
Yeah, I'm rich in abundance. Like we talk about, I have a partner that I love that supports my goals, my dreams. She works in education, and I look at coaching as being aided in the education field. I get to go home with two kids that are 4 years old and 2 years old and that know nothing about the world, and I'm shaping them for the world. But when I walk through the door, I'm their hero. I come to work every single day and I get to be a part of basketball and a round object and a game every single day while pushing people to go further than I did. I was fortunate to play 4 years of professional basketball, and my only goal is to have these guys go further than I did. And if they don't, to still have them have success guaranteed because they'll have all the tools in the world to be. It's like I say again, I tell my guys every day, I'm having the time of my life, and I just want them to understand that so that they can have the time of their lives. But I am rich beyond measures. I am wealthy beyond measures, and it's not about dollars and cents. It's just about being able to like be in my skin, love what I do, love who I've become. And how can you not love what you've become if you know my story
I
as
love
someone
that.
that it comes from a parents from first generation immigrants to watch them work to give us opportunity and for every single one of my siblings to be in great places and have taken their opportunities and to be successful. What is there that is not rich beyond measure in that? So I try not to lose that aspect. I think we're very motivated by monetary gains, but I think we also have to understand the blessings and the privilege that we have. And again, I don't take that for granted at all. Never will.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. So you've lived as a player, a new coach, and now a program leader. How has your relationship with money and stability changed through those stages?
Yeah, I think the further, the more you build and you have success, that obviously comes with that. I think they're a part of the evolution. But in the same way, when I was in high school, I had no thoughts about playing university basketball. I just wanted to be the best that I can be. And that led to recruitment that gave me an opportunity to play the game. Then I dropped out of school and I wanted to get back in the game. I was given a second opportunity. When I got that second opportunity, all I wanted to do was become the best and take care of that opportunity and become a better student so that I never had to feel that way again about failing and letting myself down. That gave me an opportunity to then have someone knock at my door and say, I think you're good enough to play professional basketball. When I was a professional basketball, all I wanted to do is take advantage of the opportunity to be the best that I could be. That led to me getting a different contract. When I got out of it, I signed up to coach basketball for free when I retired from playing the game. A year or two later, I was asked to be the lead assistant coach, and now I was getting paid to coach basketball. A year after that, I was offered two jobs and got a chance to pick which job I wanted as someone in their first opportunity to become a program leader and got a chance to actually pick my destination. And I chose Brock. So then that came with that. But it's never been around what money amount I'm trying to get to. It's always been about just trying to be the best and raise the floor so that I can also raise the ceiling at the same time. And even in this role, that's how I approach it. I don't think about what's coming next after Brock. I have no idea. I just know that nothing comes after this if I don't tackle this and have success here. And that's my mindset.
Young athletes often focus on the game, but forget the long run. What financial lessons do you wish every young athlete understood earlier?
All I can tell people is that if you find something that you love and you're passionate about it, that if you keep working at it, the monetary part of it will come. And I can say that for me, it has come and I've seen it in different stages. I would not have become a university dropout. I was taking it seriously with how expensive university is. So when you're in school and you're sent or your parents are paying for you to be in school, it costs money and not to take it for granted. And that there's someone that's working hard at the other end. That would be the advice. And as a coach, you see a ton of players waste time and waste money because they don't take themselves seriously enough to make sure that they get good grades and then they're having to repeat courses is paying money a second time for the same education. That would be probably the most relatable financial advice that I can give someone that's in my
No,
world.
it's absolutely relatable, and hard-earned money should be spent much wiser. I love it. Freedom means different things depending on where we are in life. How do you define freedom today for yourself, for your family?
Freedom is just having the ability for us to live a comfortable life and to be able to know where every single meal is coming from, to not have to worry and stress about it, to know that my wife is passionate about her job, I'm passionate about what I do. My kids get opportunities that I never had when I was younger because we weren't in a financial position to be able to provide that, while also making sure that I am not limiting their freedom because I am making them in a life of privilege not understand how hard they need to work to earn the right to play what they do. So even as the 2-year-old and the 4-year-old are being shaped, I still want to make them understand that none of this is taken for granted and it's a privilege to be able to go and wake up on Saturday morning to go play basketball as a 4-year-old. So for me, that's what freedom looks like, is just being able to just, I don't want to say be content, but be in a place where you're happy, you're excited to go home. And I know a lot of people that the day ends and they want nothing with going home because they don't want to open up the door to their reality. For me, freedom is that my reality has been shaped and I've pathed and created my own reality, and it's a reality I love. And for me, that's freedom. That's wealth beyond measures.
I really love that. And becoming a parent changes the lens instantly. How has fatherhood shaped the way you lead on and off the court?
It's funny. I commute to work. I have probably a half hour to 35-minute drive from door to door. And every time I leave my work with my athletes, my commute home is spent thinking about how do I make sure that my own kids don't have the struggle that some of my athletes have in terms of their mindset and their approach in life. And that's something that I always say boils down to parenting. And even in my job, when I recruit parents now more than ever because I understand the impact of your upbringing and how it will help shape your ability to have the mindset to tackle life. So ever since I became a parent, I've just looked at my players from a different lens, trying to understand what pave their way here and what also will limit their way to overachieve.
So lovely. I love that. So players don't remember every drill, but they remember the lessons. What values do you hope your players carry with them long after basketball?
Just that success takes work. I think we go back to having guys learn and build real confidence, and that pride in your intelligence, pride in your character, and pride in your toughness are the way for you to guarantee your success down the road. And for me, that's the biggest lesson is, will I create some professional basketball players? Sure, maybe I have, but that's not the measure of my success. The measure of my success are the athletes that lead this program, the athletes that I have an impact on. That's going to be my legacy. Like when I go, I want the church to be filled with people that I impacted, like my aunt's church was when she went a few weeks ago. So for me, that's the biggest lesson that I want them to understand is how to build real confidence, how to guarantee your success, and how to tackle it with relentless enthusiasm every day.
When you strip away the titles and achievements, who are you at your core?
Willy Manigat, born in Montreal, raised in Ottawa, and now lives in Stony Creek. And I don't take myself seriously. And all I'm trying to do is be the best version of myself, help create people that become the best version of themselves, and enjoy life and have fun and laugh my way through it. And
We all carry one principle we fall back on when life gets heavy. What belief or philosophy guides you when things get hard?
I've seen darker days. This is still a bright day. When you come from someone that has to go and has had gone through what I've gone through, you realize I don't look at it as I keep it steady. I'm never too up, never too down. So even when life is down, I don't look at life being down. I look at it as just a game day where the momentum is shifted. And how do we shift the momentum back? Like for me, again, I'm a pretty simple human being. I don't complicate things. It's today's just not a great day, but it's still a great day because there's still a lot of things around us that we can look at and say, thank God for that.
I love that. And beyond the program, the human journey continues. What do you feel is the next step for you as a leader and as a person?
Just continuing to get better. I feel like sometimes I know I get repetitive because everyone expects like this grandiose answer, but for me it's just about getting better. Like this year I'm taking a coaching course, and 7 years into my career I'm still trying to find mentors and people that are going to continue to help me look at different ways to be more impactful and to be a better leader and to be more efficient. So for me, that's all I want to do. Is I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to improve my craft. I want to be the best that I can be. I want to overachieve. Just like every year, the goal of our program and our team is based on the collection of talent that we have in the room and individuals is to overachieve. And I'm a 38-year-old coach. I have hopefully a long life still ahead of me. And I'm just excited about what that journey is and how far I can take this potential that was given to me and maximize it and overachieve with it.
The next generation is watching, learning, and absorbing everything. What makes you hopeful when you look at the young athletes coming up today?
That's a trick question. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what makes me hopeful. What I'm hopeful for is that society goes back and takes a different shift, because I think we're on our way to creating a world where accountability, work ethic, overcoming adversity, resilience, toughness is becoming further and further from the reality. And I hope that that takes a shift. I really do. I remember when my wife told me that she was pregnant, I thought to myself, I have to raise a kid in this world. That was one of the first thoughts that I had. And I just want the world to go back to valuing the right things. And I feel like somewhere along the way that's got lost. And I know that now I'm sounding a lot older than I am. But that's just what I feel. So I'm hopeful that that goes in a certain way so that those values can come back in society.
Coach Willy, thank you for bringing not just your wins, but your wisdom. Your story reminds all of us that habit creates confidence, values create culture, and culture creates freedom. This conversation will stay with a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Until next time, keep climbing your summit.
Always.